So let's get into it. When is the right time to rebrand your company? A lot of tech startups don't prioritize the brand. However, maybe they should. Branding is vital to ensuring that your products and services are reaching the right audience, or that your company is conveying a consistent message out in the marketplace. Rebranding is often used to bring fresh energy to an ailing brand, or to potentially ensure cohesive messaging across all the different channels. Either way, it's just as important to know when to rebrand as knowing how to rebrand. So, let me take you through a few examples of when it's the right time to rebrand and a few when it's not the right time. Let's dive in. The LinkedIn B2B Institute believes that branding for B2B companies will be the most important success factor over the next decade. Their view? Great branding creates literal memory structures that nudge businesses toward a particular vendor when they're looking to buy a tech product or service. Part of what makes up the science behind brain engine optimization. Today, marketers are spending billions of dollars on search engine optimization. We want our brands to come to mind when someone's thinking of buying our product or service. However, we're optimizing for the wrong search engine. We should be trying to optimize for the brain. This is what we call brain engine optimization, and it's gaining in popularity over SEO every day. So what is brain engine optimization and how does it work? Think of it this way. When you're using a search engine, you type in a series of keywords or a question, and out comes a response, typically in a list of websites or possibly some ads. If you're trying to figure out something with your brain, same thing. You put in a series of inputs and you get an output based on your experience. Let me give you a more specific example. Let's say you're lucky enough to be spending your summer in the Amalfi Coast in Italy. Well, you sit down to a cafe and you're going to order your first cocktail. What do you order? Well, you probably don't need to Google what's the most popular cocktail in the Amalfi Coast. You might already know that an Aperol Spritz or a limoncello is something that you should order there. That's how that is an example of brain engine optimization. I'm sure you have a lot more questions about BEO even after my explanation. I recommend checking out the blogs and articles that are written about it. It's an extremely popular topic and you can find a lot of information, ironically, if you search for it. So let me get this straight. I should just run out and completely change my brand so that it fits in with what's going on in the tech world? Is that right? Nah, not exactly. Rebranding in reality can confuse existing customers and clients, especially when there isn't a solid reason behind it. However, there are plenty of reasons when it absolutely makes sense to invest in rebranding. Let me walk you through those. Issues with company names happen all the time, from not being able to pronounce the name to business names that are actively problematic. Let me share an example from a well-known consumer brand. You're probably familiar with the Quaker Oats company. Well, back in 2020, they did an audit of their portfolio of brands. Aunt Jemima came up as one that was highly problematic due to its very outdated racial stereotyping. Sometimes company names are too complex, hard to pronounce, or just simply difficult to remember. Well-known brands today were called by other names before. Let me share a few of those examples. Starbucks used to be Starbucks Coffee, Tea, and Spice. That's a mouthful. Nike used to be Blue Ribbon Sports. And more recently, we've seen Google rebrand to Alphabet and Facebook become Meta. More on that later. If your company name is overly complex, take some guidance from these well-known brands. It's worth checking your logo for the same reasons. Logos that are overly complex or confusing can have the opposite effect. They're not eye-catching at all. In fact, to use Starbucks as an example again, there's a company that has evolved and changed their logo multiple times over the course of the business. In the B2B world, let's take a look at the Slack logo, which they changed back in 2019. The original was 11 different colors. They've streamlined that, and now it's simply 4 colors with very simple white text. Another reason to look at your brand strategy, legal implications. Yes, if your company name, logo, even your tagline potentially infringes on a copyright or trademark, you could run into some trouble. With over 266 startups in America already being established in 2022, of course, it's likely that there is going to be some overlap. If an existing company already has a name that you wanted to run with, think again. You want to make sure that you're avoiding any potential litigation risks. I've seen this happen, and it can get very costly very quickly. Our final rebranding reason, and of course there are many more, is a change in your business direction. Let me walk you through PayPal is a great example of this. PayPal recently rebranded to meet the ADA, or Americans with Disability Act standards focused on inclusivity. As a fintech brand that works with both consumers and businesses, they could be leading the way for other B2B vendors to bring diversity and inclusion into their own branding efforts. PayPal also rebranded dramatically after its breakaway from eBay, the online auction platform. They embraced the change in direction and integrated it into their entire marketing strategy. Let's revisit Facebook, Meta. Many were very surprised that such a well-known brand like Facebook changed its name to Meta. And of course, their line was that they were going to be focusing on uniting the digital universe into the metaverse, hence the name. However, there's a lot of speculation that it had a lot more to do with some of the scandals around the Facebook brand, specifically around the 2016 election, Cambridge Analytica, and of course, the spread of false information. Was Facebook rebranding a good move? There's a lot of debate on this one. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. If your company is moving in a different direction, a rebrand could be a great way to let your existing customer base know, and a good vehicle to engage with new leads or investors. So, should I rebrand? Not necessarily. There are times when a rebrand doesn't make sense. Rebranding is expensive. It requires marketing experts, design professionals, and can potentially harm relationships with existing customers or partners if they were already highly engaged with your brand. Here are two key business concerns that you should not use as a justification for a rebrand. Rebranding shouldn't be seen as a magic wand that will reverse or improve a lack of growth. It's likely that branding is part of what's contributing to your lack of growth, but likely there are several other factors involved. Work with your business data and a marketing professional to assess what underlying factors could be leading to your lack of growth. Branding could be part of it, but it's likely one of many factors contributing to slower growth. Bring your existing brand strategy back in line with your existing messaging framework so you can assess your successes and then see how can you potentially replicate those to get your growth back on track. All companies want to increase their revenues, right? Rebranding is not a fail-safe strategy to be able to do this. Of course, if there are other reasons to rebrand, a solid brand strategy could lead to increased profits. However, if this is the only reason why you're deciding to rebrand, I recommend you think again. So, if rebranding isn't driving revenue, what do I do? A better approach? Bring in your marketing executive or hire a fractional CMO to do a marketing audit on your marketing data, your tech stack, your content strategy, and of course your messaging. The more you understand where your ideal clients are actually engaging with their tech vendors, the likely you'll find another solution versus rebranding. If you're trying to decide if your tech startup needs a rebrand, reach out. Happy to take you through a brand audit and determine if your brand is ready for a refresh.